Well, I don't know what just happened, but you gotta love live television, right? Um, I know that Wild Wings has horrendous Wi-Fi, which is where my sister is. So I think she got the boot. Could have been me. Hey, so sorry. We're coming back. Wit's coming back on. I think she got kicked off the Wi-Fi, or maybe I did. Who knows? Or the world does not want us to shed light on this sex topic. That could be also. There she is. Okay, let's add her back on. I
Hi.
don't know. Could have been me.
Were you talking? Was I talking? I don't even know.
Yep, I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll hop right back in and hopefully it'll work. But we were just talking more about intimacy and then moving along with like having to be connected, having to have that voluntary response. It's, can you connect? It's a connecting without being physical usually, right? Isn't that what you were, or I guess that's up for
Intimacy?
debate. That's up for
I would
debate.
say intimacy can include physicality, but you can be intimate with someone without being physical, is kind of what I was saying. Like, I can have an intimate relationship with a friend, but that's uncommon because of the depth of closeness.
Sure.
But I would say usually the definition of intimacy would include, especially with your spouse, that physical element,
Sure. And
also known as sex.
I like what you said about what you heard in a sermon. What was that?
Oh yeah. I was listening to a sermon on in the car, and they said the difference between you and your spouse's other friends, because we all have friends, right? And you're the best friend of your spouse, but there's like another level, that the difference between you and your spouse's other friends is that they want to have sex with you. They don't want to have sex with their other friends. They want to have sex with you. That's why you're the chosen spouse that they married and locked down, which I'm like, oh, I love that. That's hilarious. That would be the marked difference between my relationship with my husband and my relationship with other males, to which I have friendships with other guys.
Right.
I do not want to have sex with those other guys, right? So that's like the sex does it's part of intimacy in a marriage.
Sure. And along that same
Maybe you have to throw that
token,
on there.
we were talking about, is it physical? Is it not? And I do think it depends. But intimacy can also be the actions that you do for your spouse. And we were talking about this. We were talking about the 5 love languages. I think we may have
Mm-hmm.
referenced this in other lives before, like about marriage and whatnot. But all of the 5 love languages are ways you can establish intimacy and establish a deeper connection with your spouse, right? Do you want to talk about those 5 love languages? You're an expert.
Yeah, I'm so not an expert. I read the book. That's it. That's my level. But there's 5 love languages, and you could take a test if you Google like the 5 love languages. There's lots of tests to take to discover what yours is, if it's not obviously apparent to you and what yours is. But oftentimes we love others in our own language.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is not their love language, how they receive love, it's being lost on them. So, for example, the 5 are gift giving, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and words of affirmation. My number one love language is acts of service.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas's is words of affirmation. So for the first 5-6 years of our marriage, he would tell me how much he loved. You hear the rooster?
Yeah,
Is that
I
why you're
do.
smiling?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, there's a rooster like right outside. Um, he would tell me he loved me all the time. That is not my love language. I know he loves me. It's completely lost on me that was like how he was showing me love. And then he would leave dishes in the sink, and he would leave his shoes everywhere, and he wouldn't clean up after himself. And to me, I'm like, you're not showing me love at all. Like, but
Right.
in his mind, he was, because he was doing it in his own language. And because I'm not a words of affirmation person, I forget, I have to make a point of saying, I appreciate you. Thank you. You're good at this. I love you. Like, I have to say it, and not just, and my second, I don't know why that rooster is right there doing that so much, but my second love language that's almost tied with first is quality time. So like date night is super important to me, completely not important to my husband. It doesn't mean he doesn't want to hang out with me. His next one is physical touch. So I would like to go on a date and then we could have sex. He would just prefer to have the sex. He doesn't care about the date.
Sure.
Love language difference. That's not necessarily all guys, though. I know that sounds like, well, that's any guy. It's like, no, it's not any guy. I know a lot of wives or husbands, for that matter, whose spouse really does want that quality time. They want that, or they want the snuggling and not just the sex. Like the physical touch to them is hugging or kissing or just being affectionate in other ways. So that was just completely a game changer for our relationship, to recognize when he was loving me in his own language, just constant with that rooster, and vice versa, being proactive of loving him in his language, so that intimacy was established for sure.
So I would love to know from you guys, if you are in a relationship, do you know your partner's love language? And do you believe your partner knows your love language? Is it something that maybe you've talked about, even maybe not in these, this phrase of the 5 love languages, but do they know how to love you, and do you know how to love them correctly? Or is that something that maybe communication could help with? I'd love to hear about that. Sure. And the other thing that we talked about, does the meaning behind sex change over time? Obviously, we're both in our mid-30s. And there have been, in my experience, and I'm sure in your experience as well, a gradual change in perspective of like what sex is, how I value it, and how I value myself in that equation. Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
So there's casual sex, sex with strangers, sex to feel validated, maybe something where, you want to feel attractive, you want to feel like you're worthwhile. So, unromantic sex we listed, social pressure from other people to either give up your virginity or reach a certain quota or stuff like that. That type of sex is kind of where I think we all stumble through, right? Maybe younger in our life, maybe older. I don't know.
I mean, not some people, but yeah, certainly me.
It's certainly
don't do that.
Yeah, that's something that I have
think
felt.
That is common.
And so, to go from treating sex as kind of indispensable, no big deal, to now having it be, the pinnacle way that you connect and feel close to your spouse. I think that Wendy and I would both say that it's completely changed. And now, obviously, we are only interested in being intimate with our spouse. So that's quite a 180, I would say. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I even used to, something I thought of as we're talking here, is sex as a currency. It, like in my head, it was an exchange, and there was definitely value there linked to that for sure. So it does, evolve over time, and it no longer holds any of those places in my life now that I'm more in a place of intimacy, in a place of closeness where I wasn't necessarily with other partners in the past, so it totally changes when you feel safe, I guess would be a good word, in that relationship. Absolutely. Sex has a different connotation, a different meaning, a different weight in your relationship as it'll evolve for sure.
Sure.
Oh, and I wrote here too, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead. I was going to move on.
I was going to say, sometimes sometimes we think of sex as a duty or an obligation. And I don't know that those words sound bad in relation to sex. It sounds like a bad thing, but I want to flip that just for a second, because it is our duty as wives or husbands. It is part of a marriage, and it's okay for a spouse to have an expectation of a physical element of a relationship. And I remember at a certain point, because I just have had, so many thoughts and messed upness about sex in my life and in my relationship with my husband, there was a time where he said to me about sex, I just was like, had a headache all the time. And he told
Been
me
there.
that he's never felt more rejected. He's never felt more rejected by anyone in his life. And that broke my heart. I'll never forget that. I'm like, your wife should never be the person that's making you feel rejected, right?
Right.
I mean, where else do I want him to be getting sexual satisfaction other than from me? Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, hello, what am I doing? Like, of course it is part of our relationship. It's okay that that's something that you desire from me. I shouldn't make you feel rejected. So yes, it is a duty. I hate the word obligation. That makes it sound forced, but I did have to switch my mindset around it and go, you know what? It's okay that he needs this. And I don't have to just do it. I can do it and be into it. Like,
Right.
that's okay. You know, like that's something I should strive to do. That's a good thing. And my husband just started watching. So that's funny.
It's like his ears were
Hi,
ringing.
honey.
Hi, Tom. But you know, that being said, of course, I am on the same page as you, and I agree that there is, there's a certain level of, if you aren't connecting physically for a long period of time, you will struggle to connect in other ways. But are there obstacles to a healthy sex life? A million of them, yes. And that was part of what we had kind of talked about before we hopped on live, is that, you know, your husband worked shift work. So work schedules, I don't know if you can elaborate on, you know, he was a firefighter. So what was that schedule like?
Yeah. So 2 on, 4 off. So 2 days he was on shift, gone. 4 days he was home. And that would shift. Sometimes it was 4 days he was on and only 2 days he was home. Of course, because he worked 48 hours straight, he was tired. So, you know, like that was just a dynamic that was always crazy. And that was a blessing, because if you're a fire wife, and my husband didn't go out on fires the way that some, you know, my cousin Brian is gone a month, 2 months at a time, you know, so there's all kinds of work schedules that can be complicated, or spouses that work nights, or even if you work nights, maybe you're a nurse, you work the night shift, that can throw off the whole dynamic of, and my husband would like me to say, I'm sure, that you don't just have to be intimate at night, but often that is the most available time for that, if you have other humans that live in your house.
Which is another big obstacle, which is children and their schedules and their, you know, I don't want to get too deep in this, but if you co-sleep or if you don't, or if they're on a schedule, or if they're, you know, if you can reliably count on them to give you privacy, you know, that's a huge one. Past hurt or sexual trauma that you may have experienced, that could definitely put a wedge in, you know, your self-worth, in how willing you are to be available to your spouse, and how you weigh, you know, how much value you place on yourself, and that in the equation. Trust issues. I mean, if you've been cheated on,
cheated on, yeah, that's going to really affect your intimacy for sure.
And you mentioned
cheated, either way.
Yeah. You wrote on here power. What exactly do you mean by that?
Oh, again, almost in the sense of a currency, you know, holding it over your spouse, that I'm mad at you, so I'm not going to do this, or I want you to do this, and so I'm going to withhold sex so that you do that, or, you know, just using it as a power dynamic, not good. That's going to disrupt a healthy intimacy in your relationship.
Totally. And I
may have done that once or twice.
Well, I'm guilty of not making it a priority. At the end of the day, if I've given every ounce of energy I have either to this pregnancy or to my child that I stay home with, you know, it's hard to have the energy and the desire and feeling attractive after you've like got goo and stickiness all over you. You know, like there's a lot of intentionality that sometimes needs to go into it. And another thing for me personally, I addressed this yesterday on Facebook, and it was really scary, but pregnancy loss, or, you know, trying to conceive, pregnancy loss for us, you know, someone reached out to me yesterday and they said, so did you try right away to conceive again? And I said, I didn't want anything to do with it. I didn't want anything to do with the act. I didn't want ovulation strips. I didn't want to talk about it. And, you know, my husband respected those boundaries, and we were in it together, but that was definitely a lull in our sex life, because it was very traumatizing for me to process. Like, when am I going to put myself
Yeah.
out there again? You know what I mean? And similarly, I have a friend who's been trying to conceive for a while, and her and her partner have been having trouble being on the same page because her partner actually felt used because she's trying to conceive. And he's like, I'm not just
Oh,
for
that's
sex.
so
Like,
interesting.
and so, you know, those are definitely hurdles, right?
Totally.
What else
Oh,
do we
I
have on
remember
here?
trying to get pregnant where it was like, just do it. Like like just go get it done. Like this is
Yeah.
about like, I'm ovulating, it was like, don't be all like, don't try to last, like, all kinds of like, that's not healthy and good. But when you're in that mindset, that can totally be disruptive to the intimacy for sure.
Oh, it can feel like a
And
chore.
we talked about desire, or your sex drive can shift as you get
Mm-hmm.
older. It can shift on medications that you're on or off of, or, birth control affects your sex drive. There's a million different things that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, speaking of being pregnant, your own attractiveness, how you perceive your body affect, like, I'm a big giant pregnant fat
Totally.
person. Like, I don't want to do it because I don't want you to see my naked body. Like, I don't even want to see my naked body.
Yeah.
That is totally a factor. And even after you have the baby, until you feel like you're in a good spot, or maybe you never feel like you're in a good spot, maybe you always view your body negatively, and that is a way to, or maybe say, on the flip side, maybe your husband or your wife you're not attracted to them because of whatever they're walking through, like, that
Mm-hmm.
plays a role. I mean, like, love doesn't always mean I think you're the sexiest person ever. It means I love you regardless, but
Yeah.
that's, menopause, hormones Kim's talking about, for sure. There's so many factors to that.
Oh my
and
gosh.
and how do we overcome all that,
Well,
as we wrap this up here?
I was just going to say real quick too, though, nobody ever told me that breastfeeding can also cause a huge chemical imbalance that like messes with your hormones and your desire to be intimate. And when I saw my doctor and was just talking to them about how I've been feeling, and they're like, oh yeah, that's like super common. I'm like, this is so unfair. Like, there's so much stacked against you connecting with your spouse, postpartum, that isn't really discussed. But anyway,
Well, did you know also that males have their sexual peak around 18, 19, and females are around 33? Like, what is that about? Like, by the time the female's peaking in their sexual desire, the man's way over it, or not over it, not
right.
over it, but like, that's why you're like, dude, when they're 18, you're like, buddy, like, that's when their sexual peak is, right? It's just so funny that, like, why is that? That's so weird.
I saw this meme the other day that said, I'm at a point in my life where an 18-year-old looks hot, but so does his dad. And it made me laugh because it's not that I fully relate,
so
but
good.
it's confusing. It's confusing.
Good.
So
hilarious.
So anyway, yeah, let's wrap it up with how do we overcome the sex drop off? We're definitely not experts, but we came up with some tips and tricks. Dating your spouse being the number one for me, and I think for you, speaking our love language, like spending quality time together makes you want to do the deed. Am I right?
Date night, I'm like, for sure, if it's date night, like, you can just count on it. You know what I mean? So, like, that to me is like, then date me more. Like, then take me on more dates. But yeah, totally dating. But like, really thinking of it as a date. What if you tried to, I mean, we just take for granted that our spouse is like going to be around the next day. It's like, we know they're probably not going to leave us tomorrow. You know what I mean? So like,
Right.
But when you're on those dates, when you're dating someone, that is not taken for granted. You're still unsure. Like, are we going to stay together? I really like this guy. Is he like me back? Like, I walk into dates like, I want to have a conversation with my husband about, like, I want to know him again. Like, let's talk about, we often will rehash the early part of our relationship and like how we fell in love. Like, we will talk about that. That makes me, it totally makes me, like,
yeah.
we're so cute. Like, that's so sweet. But the longer you're into your relationship, the more you need to do that, to remember
to not take it for granted.
Because to not take it for granted, for sure. And then I put up there sex goals. Do you have a sex goal per week? I have a sex goal in my head per week.
Really? Would you share it or no?
I don't always, sure. I would like to, like, I don't know if this is going to make it like super cool or weird, but I would say 2 or 3 times a week is my sex goal. I don't know if that
That's
sounds like absurdly
fantastic.
a little or like a
No.
lot. And I'm not saying we don't, like, we do that all the time. It just, in my head, I'm like, if I could keep up an average of that, and I used to actually track it in my calendar, because I would recognize, I know this sounds weird, but I would recognize if we go 2 weeks without it, let's say,
Right.
it's like, it's you just, your vibe is off when you go back to it. You know, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you're just like, if you have it more frequently, it's better.
You're out
And
of
if you
sync.
don't ever have it, you're out of sync. It's a little awkward. You're just, it's kind of goofy. But like, if you're having sex regularly, it actually is better.
Yeah.
You
No,
know, I don't know why that is, but like,
I think that's awesome. I think that's a super good goal. That's, you know, that's something that my husband would love to be at. Um,
you're pregnant. That's
yes.
totally different.
But
Yes, Kim says his preference is every day. Of course, that's why I'm like, let's have a meet in the middle goal. My goal is to not deny you every day of the week. My goal is to sometimes have sex, right?
You know,
That's
some
the goal.
women want to do it multiple times a day, and their husband is the one pushing them off. So
Totally.
everyone's different.
This is not a gender. Yeah.
Mm-mm. And then, you know, we talked about Rachel Hollis, our favorite girl. We're such fangirls. She did a Sextember. So as we're wrapping up August, heading into September, she had a challenge to have sex with your spouse every single day of September and see how far you can go. Even if you don't make the full 30 days, you know, see how many days consecutively you could. That intimidates the hell out of me. But
totally intimidating.
It's definitely something that you can do if you feel like you're having trouble connecting with your spouse. Put a challenge out there, and you know what? Have a sense of humor about it. Joke with each other.
You have
fun. Otherwise, like, no one's going to want to get in that bedroom with you, right?
And we want lots of people to get in that bedroom.
Anyone. Open door.
No one's going to want it. No one is.
Well, on that same token, if that is what you are into, which is fine, you know, trust your partner, communicate with them, and be as adventurous as you both are comfortable with. You know, if that means, you know, revolving door or inviting someone else in, so be it. That's your intimacy. That's your sex life that you get to choose with your partner, right? That's kind of a cool thing. You don't really get to be that vulnerable with other people, you know, like in that way.
Totally.
So yeah, anyway, if you want to wrap it up with that, the last 2 points there.
Yeah, communication we've talked about, and then get in the mood even when you're not in the mood. You know, like, you can get in the mood if you are just, there are definitely times sometimes I'm like, you know what, I'm just not in the mood, but like, okay, you know, it's not like this is like the worst thing that's ever happened. I just have to like get my head in the game, you know, so get your head in the game. And, you know, just from my perspective, I have to remind myself, and maybe this will resonate with someone, that this is a gift from God for, like, this is something it's not a bad thing. People, especially in your marriage, you guys, people get all in their head about like, we're not supposed to be talking about it. We're not supposed to be doing it. People shouldn't know we do it. It's like, of course you should be doing it. It's totally healthy. It's totally, like, for sure a gift.
Yeah.
And it's a tool to cultivate closeness in your relationship. So for sure. And then audience participation as we wrap up here, you guys, and maybe this is a topic maybe in and of itself, because it came to me at the end here, but in the world today, in the culture today, what advice would you give to your kids or kids that you're close with about sex? What
attacking
would be
me.
You do.
Jesus.
What would be some advice that you would give to your kids or young adults about sex from your experience? So please comment on the video. Let us know what your advice would be. And again, maybe that is just a whole nother topic that we can circle back to, just like
raising kids.
How do you teach kids about sex? Yeah, like in a sexualized culture. I think that is a whole topic, actually, because
you've learned a bunch.
Sexualized culture, and it is pornography addiction is absolutely rampant. Like it is such a so much more of a bigger problem than I ever realized or knew. And the average age that our children are being exposed to pornography is 7 for boys and
Gross.
girls. I thought I was ahead of the game with my child is about to be 8, and I'm like, should I start talking to her about like, you know, what she may see on an iPad? You know, I just don't know everything she's looking at. And I'm like, I think she'd be too young. And then I learned that nope, she's exactly the average age that they're being exposed. And it's not a soft exposure. It is generally the worst of the worst. They're being exposed to like a pornographic video often, like some sort of very graphic something. So it is very much, I think that's just going to be a whole nother topic. Obviously,
Well,
I have a lot
yeah.
to say about that.
I mean, that's very different from the sex that we've been talking about. Oh my God, this fly's driving me nuts. We are just
It
all
is
over
really
the place today. But like we were talking about sex in a respectable way, and that conversation is more about how do we teach our kids that sex is a respectable thing and not this
Totally.
aggressive, abrasive thing that they're seeing on the internet. So that is definitely something, oh my gosh,
something
that
they
we'll
have
talk
to
about.
fear, something they don't have control over. Totally, we need to talk about that. So yeah, also guys, please write in here what you want us to talk about, and we will come up with a great topic for next week. But we would love your feedback. Please, whatever you want, whatever you think, we'll try.
Even if you didn't catch the live, we're going to come back to these comments. So please, please,
for sure,
let us know. Drop us a comment idea. If we want more info, we'll message you and be like, tell us more about that topic you want to hear. Let us know. Obviously we don't know everything.
Please.
What?
I said, please.
I thought you said peace. I'm like, okay, bye. Obviously we don't know everything, but hopefully you guys, enjoyed this talk today with us. It's hard to talk about, but worth talking about. Next week, I think we're going to talk about, entrepreneurship versus the employee mindset and just kind of the differences there and what it takes to be an entrepreneur in our experience. But hope you'll tune in next week. And otherwise, we'll see you on the flip side. Flowers.
These don't really work.
I see them.
All right. Bye.
All right.
Guys.
Bye.
Have a good one.